Hello, this is Pastor Ari Matson from Christ Our Savior Lutheran Church in Sussex, Wisconsin. This is my regular sermon podcast that I'm now calling AfterWords. And this past weekend I spoke on Matthew 18, 15 through 20. But there's also some very interesting stuff in the Romans passage that I didn't get to talk about in my sermon. In Romans, Paul's talking to people, and in his writing he explains how we should owe nothing but love to one another, and that in doing love and loving one another, we fulfill the entirety of the law. That all of those things we're not supposed to do are naturally not done by us loving one another. And he says, basically, towards the end, that we should put off those things that are sinful, those things that turn us away from God, and that we should put on Christ. I find this whole passage very interesting, especially that last bit where he says we should put on Christ. The idea that Christ is somehow a garment or a type of clothing. And as I was reading this and thinking about the fact that so much of what we wear, the clothing that we put on, says who we are. If you look at me, if I'm dressed nicely, you make assumptions about what kind of person I am. If I'm wearing a baseball cap and blue jeans and a t-shirt, you would make other assumptions about who I am. The clothes that we wear on a regular basis to different areas, and when we go out in public, people make assumptions about us. And we use our clothing to say a lot about who we want people to think that we are. Which I think raises some very interesting questions then about what it means to put on Christ. If Christ is a garment, if Christ is a type of clothing that we put on to show the world who we are, so that people make assumptions about the type of people we want to be, or the type of people we want the world to think that we are, what does it mean to put on Christ? What are those things that we do on a daily basis? And what things are you wearing on a daily basis? Maybe not just in terms of clothing, but wearing in terms of actions, the words that we say to one another, the looks that we give one another, the things that we do day in and day out, maybe the things that we don't do. And what kind of clothing is that suggesting to people? If we have been claimed by Christ, redeemed by Christ, loved by Christ, forgiven by Christ, Paul says, let us put on Christ. Let us share that good news that we have. So my challenge, my question for you this week is to ponder that. What kind of clothing are you wearing in your daily lives? In what ways are you reflecting Christ? In what ways does Christ change you? And I pray and hope that this will encourage you in your walk as you follow Christ this week. And may Christ be with you in all that you do. Thanks for taking the time to watch my podcast. And God bless you in your day.